Okay, now we are live. Today is Tuesday, April 19th. It is 10 a.m. I am Christina Dillabo, Director of Communications for the Desert Southwest Conference. And this is Tuesday Talks, a weekly gathering with church communicators to share ideas, find out about what's coming up, ask questions, and kind of use each other as a resource to get better at what we do and not feel so alone in what we're doing. So this hopefully is also a ministry to you, as you are definitely a ministry in your community and your church as a church communicator. Okay, so let's dive in. Good morning, everybody. The first item that I want to cover is about the CCLI licensing and renewals. So many of you probably already know that the Desert Southwest Conference pays for every church's CCLI church copyright license and CCLI streaming license. But not all of our churches are aware of that. And this year in particular was a little bit sketchy because the streaming license was recently added as a group discount license that the conference also pays for. And what I discovered this year is that all of the streaming license for each of our churches were not synced to renew at the same time. So CCLI synced all of the copyright licenses when we started the group license, but they hadn't yet synced all of our streaming licenses. And so now they are all synced. There were a few stragglers that were meant to renew like in March, but they were extended to renew now end of April. And some churches had already paid for their license for the year. So what happens is we've already sent the check. In some cases, the church may get a rebate, or not a rebate, a prorated refund check, because CCLI is aware that either you already paid for it or you guys at UMC Casa Grande paid for it. Oh no, just saying hi. So it worked out really well for the first time around. It was very confusing. Churches were getting checks in the mail from CCLI. Didn't know why, but we didn't do as much communication this time as we did the first time around about the streaming license and how the syncing would work. So I've been getting a lot of questions from churches wondering, hey, are you guys paying for these, or are we paying for these? I'm seeing that it's going to be due in a few days, or whenever. So CCLI was very much aware that some of them were not going to renew or had already been due to renew, but no churches were in trouble. They were just trying to sync them all. And if you go into your CCLI account now, it should show a renewal date of end of April. And I'm guessing they probably already received the check because we sent it last week on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday, could have been Wednesday, I don't remember. But as they say, the check is in the mail, so it will show as paid very soon. So besides that, we had two weird occurrences. I didn't even know this was the case. Two of our churches had upgraded or changed their streaming license, I should say. They had a streaming plus or streaming premium. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a license that it's different than the regular streaming license. So it wasn't eligible for the group license discount. So that was causing another weird situation because two licenses were dropped from our group. I didn't know why. So after lots of research, I discovered it's because they had the streaming plus and they needed it. So why would your church need a streaming plus? I think that's what it's called, streaming plus license. That's a special case where it's basically giving your church permission to use the master. So that's for churches that maybe don't have a choir, that don't have a band, and what they use for music during worship is they play the hymnal songs from a CD. That's the way that works. So that's why most of our churches don't need it, because most of our churches have a choir or a band, or the pastor plays piano. So you don't need to play the music off a CD. If your church does that and you're streaming, you might be one of the two churches that has that special license. But if you don't have that special license, please, and you do that, you sometimes play your music off the CDs, contact me, because you're going to need a different license. What else? Streaming Plus, church licenses stay the same. Oh yes, some of the frequently asked questions when people discover, oh wait, the conference is paying for our license now, is, well then what's our new ID, or what's our new license number? None of that changes. It's still your church's CCLI account. And so all of the credentials that you normally would use stay the same. The only difference is the bill now comes to us. And that's for those 2 licenses, with the exception of the 2 churches that have the Streaming Plus. But it's still 2 licenses. It's a copyright license and a streaming license of some type. Another question I get is, well, we also use Song Select, or we also use this video, I forgot what it's called, where you can show videos also. That may be through CCLI, but the conference doesn't pay for those. So why do we only pay for the copyright and the streaming, but not the other ones? So we started to cover the church copyright and the streaming licenses because we discovered that not all of our churches had copyright licenses. Not all of our churches that started to stream during COVID had streaming licenses. And so it was really important that, I mean, sure, it's important that our churches are following the law. And in some cases, some churches didn't know that we needed to do that. Not about following the law, but to have copyright licenses or a new streaming license, because some of this stuff was brand new for some of our churches. And maybe the funding was limited because it's a brand new church. I don't know, it's different reasons why churches functioned the way they did. But we wanted to make sure that they were all covered because, you know, it's really expensive to get hit with a copyright infringement lawsuit. And, you know, and some of our churches might not know, it's not the whole church. I don't mean to say the whole church, but whoever it is that may need to manage it at this point, you know, because we have a system where our pastors move, they don't stay in the same spot. And we have churches where the pastor has nothing to do with the copyright stuff. You know, it's a worship leader maybe that manages it all, and they know everything that they need to know about copyright and all that to do it all legally. But as staff personnel changes, you might be stuck in a spot where we're in between people and we don't know what license we should be using or how we should show them on the slides or when it should be there. We've got all sorts of training videos and articles about that on the Desert Southwest Conference website, and I will include the link to that page in my Tuesday Talks follow-up email. But you could also contact me, and we've got all sorts of people that can meet with you one-on-one, that can, or whoever it is that's working on copyright stuff, that can answer those questions. And there is an abundance of information available on the CCLI website as well. So questions about copyright licensing or anything like that? Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Oh, okay, go.
I put a note in the chat there. We got a recent bill here for the CLVI license, which is the video streaming. And we no longer use that, so we had let that lapse. But we have our CCLI license, I think, up to date.
Yep, yeah, so the CLVI license is one of those where churches might have purchased that on their own, but it's not part of the conference paid licenses. So, you know, whatever you want to add or drop, it's all church business. So what other question was it? Oh, CCLI license. Okay, so CCLI is the name of the copyright company that we buy these licenses from. And it's, if you want to check it out, it's ccli.com. That's the website where you can see, you can log in there to see what types of licenses your church has. And oh yeah, that brings me to another tiny little piece. So if you ever catch yourself in a situation where, oh, I'm supposed to pay for this license, I don't know where to go, or, you any questions about it and you don't know your church's credentials, you can work through CCLI's website to find out what your church license number or ID is, but you could also just email me. I've got all that information for all of our churches. And like I said, it doesn't change. So anything else about that?
Just one thing, the CCLI was very helpful. When I came on board at Mission Bell, they hadn't updated it in several years. So we managed to get all of that taken care of through CCLI and then get the contact people straightened out too.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great note. If you haven't dug in there recently, now's a good time as any to check to make sure that the contact person they have on your account, on your church's account, is accurate. Because like we said, people change. So they may be sending notices and newsletter articles to an email address that's no longer active at your church. So be sure to check on that. And that would be a reason why you wouldn't be able to log into your CCLI account also. Maybe you don't know what the email address is that you would use, or that email address is no longer active. So that's where you can come to me and I can get you the ID number and license that is that goes to your church. Okay. So next item, Zoom accounts and transferring ownership. So another thing that is done through the conference, but it doesn't have to be, is the conference was able to work out, Desert Southwest Conference was able to work out an incredible Zoom discount for church use. And it's basically, we charge, I hope somebody remembers because I didn't write down what we charge. I don't remember if it was $100 or $200 per license for a year. And you renew it once in January for the year. And it doesn't matter if you purchase a license in January or you purchase it in July when half the year is over, it's the same cost. It's still a very, very reasonable price because it starts out at 50% off of the basic license, but then we've also added on all, webinar and a large license, a ton of extra bells and whistles that turns it into an enterprise level account, but it's still 50% off of the basic license. So it's an incredible deal. So why wouldn't, if you're going to need a Zoom license, you should get it through the conference. Now, sometimes as people change, maybe it's a pastor was the one that had the Zoom license for the church, and now that pastor is being appointed to a different church. So how do we transfer ownership? It may also be that the worship tech person is the one that manages the Zoom license, and that person is going to be on vacation. How do we temporarily transfer ownership? So in the first scenario where you really are needing to transfer the license over because maybe that email address that was tied to that license is the pastor's personal email address. And so of course the pastor's not gonna, they're gonna need their Zoom license at their new church. So the email address needs to go with them. So that is an official, like you need to transfer the license to a different account. I can help with that, but you can also do it on your own. All you do is you log into the account and you're not going through the app, you're actually going to the zoom.us website and logging into the account that way, and you can change the email address that's tied to your account profile. If you ever do that on your own, let me know, because I also keep track of that in my renewals spreadsheet so that I know who I need to contact to say, hey, it's time to renew. And then I can update mine so I'm sending it to the right people. What else? And then if you're struggling with that transfer, I can help with that. I can log into your account. I don't really log into your account. What I can do is I can edit your account. That's what I mean. Because I don't know your password, and don't ever tell me your password. Don't tell anybody your password. So I can go into our list of users and update the profile, but that's just one part of it. The person that manages the new email address that the profile would be switched to also needs to accept that transfer, or there's stuff that all three of us will need to do. So, you know, I'm happy to work with you guys on it, but you could also do it on your own, but the two people would need to do something and then let me know about the change. What else? One of the things that happens when you transfer an account is if, let's say it's email A and email B, they both already have Zoom licenses, or they've done stuff on Zoom, I guess. When you transfer Zoom license A over to Zoom email address B, they're going to get a warning saying that, or you do, one of the two gets a warning about how you can either transfer it so that everything is erased and they start brand new, or that everything gets transferred over. So any scheduled meetings, any previous recordings, that all is kept in that transfer. So you can make that decision when you make the transfer, but the account that was existing is now either going to be erased and accepts all that new content, or you keep the new account. Oh my gosh, this gets confusing. We'll work on it. If ever you need to, we'll deal with it. It makes more sense when you're really dealing with the real stuff. But you know, so there's help to be done. What I recommend, if it's just a temporary thing because someone's going to be on vacation, then you need to be able to access someone else's account, or you need to be able to share your account. What I recommend is go in and change your password to something obviously temporary, like temp April 19th, you know, something like that. So you're never giving away your password. Your email address is no secret, so that's not a big deal. Then give that person your email address and your new temporary password. Say, here you go ahead and use the Zoom. I'll be back from vacation in 2 weeks. How amazing would that be? 2 weeks of vacation. Anyway, so I'll be back at whenever. And then when you come back, now you go in with your temporary password and change it to your preferred password. So never give your email address and your password to somebody, even if it's someone you know. It's just not a good practice for security reasons. It's just best to use a temporary password. So that's what I would recommend. Questions about that? Okay, so what I'm going to include as well in the follow-up email from today's meeting is, in case you're new to Zoom, or maybe you're using Zoom already but found out about all sorts of different bells and whistles that are available, because that's what Zoom does. They keep updating things or sometimes fixing bugs. I'm going to send you a link to Zoom's YouTube channel, a link to Zoom's support website where there's tons of videos and articles about how to do this, and did you know about this feature, blah, blah, blah. And if the reason why you're wanting to go to one of those is that you're experiencing a lot of issues with your Zoom account, maybe it's locking out, it's freezing up a lot, be sure to check for updates on your Zoom account. And you can do that when you go to your app, and on the top right-hand corner, you can click on your profile picture, and then a little window pops up, and towards the bottom, it's check for updates, and it'll prompt you to restart your Zoom account if there's a pending update. A lot of times, just running an update will fix any problems you're having. But if it's a problem with your internet, there's also a page on Zoom, and I'll include that link as well, where you can check to see what type of bandwidth you should have. What's the up and down speeds that are optimal depending on what you're doing. If it's a one-on-one, you don't need as much bandwidth. But if you're in a larger setting like this, which isn't huge, but if you're meeting with lots of people and live streaming at the same time, you need a little more bandwidth. So all that information is on that page, and I'll include that for you guys. Questions about Zoom? Okay. All right, we're 19 minutes in, not too bad. Okay, the next item is about Heritage Sunday and a new study resource that's available. This one's pretty exciting. That I just got an email today from the General Commission on Archives and History, and I'm gonna read you a little bit of it, but I know. So they're saying they've been hard at work over the last few months preparing a brand new resource for Heritage Sunday 2022 surrounding the theme splits, separations, and reconciliations rooted in Wesleyan grace. I mean, that's it makes me nervous even just reading the title, but it's a scary, for me, it's a scary thing, but I know I'm going to be taking this class to learn more about what the history is. And as a United Methodist, we've all had to do United Methodism 101, those of us that are United Methodists. But I think this is going to be a really good resource because it's going to lead us in conversations around that. It's not just learning the history, move on. It's let's dive in and talk about it. So this year on April 30th, so the end of this month, they're going to release a 16-part video series embedded in an interactive timeline, a 6-part workshop for small groups. And you can use it like as a congregational wide study or an independent study. They have that option as well. Each option is a different cost, but it's not super expensive. I want to say it's somewhere around $30. I don't remember for sure, but I'll send you guys a link to that. It includes a rereading of John Wesley's sermon on schism. They have sermon starters and other worship resources and a series of Untitled Methodism podcasts. Those are the other things that are coming out. That's not part of the study resource. But all the resources, I guess, are ready to use and can be implemented into your worship service or small group studies, except for that one that's the 16-part video series. But they're going to be launching them. Let's see, the courses are in the History Hub. And that's umhistoryhub.teachable.com. I'll include that link. And what else? The other ones, oh, I didn't hang on to the link for the other ones. Well, I'll send you guys the link to the rest of the resources from Heritage Sunday. From the General Commission on Archives and History for Heritage Sunday 2022. It made me think about a recent video. I don't know if any of you were signed on for a leadership talk that we had recently featuring Reverend Dan Hurlbert that was about General Conference. And it was a really good video. If you haven't been following the leadership talks.
That was not a leadership talk. That was the district webinars.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking, videos are videos. I thought that it was part of the leadership talks.
So it was part of a series of the district webinars that we did. And you have that link. I'm not sure where you put it on the website.
So I'm going to send you guys the direct link to the YouTube video. And I don't think we have it linked on the website because that one was a request from Cynthia. And I was thinking that when is she going to add it to the leadership talks page? I don't see it there. Now I know why. So I'll follow up with Cynthia about that. But I'll send you guys the link to the YouTube video about it. It's about an hour long, but that includes the opening devotional, introductions, Dan's talk, and then a lot of really good cute questions and answers about his talk. If you have some time, watch it, and you'll see who else needs to get this. But I think it's just a great discussion, a great lesson that Dan Hurlbert provides on General Conference, the history of the United Methodist Church. That video alone could be your small group study. I can't speak on it enough to convince you got to watch it. So I'll include the link so you can watch it. Questions about that? Okay. Now, the next item is about annual conference. I figured if you guys have any questions about the upcoming annual conference, about registration, about viewing options, let's say for observers. I figured go ahead and ask and we'll try to answer your questions. Any questions? Go ahead, Jim.
Is registration up yet?
Yes. So registration is now available at dscumc.org/AC. I know clergy received a letter about it, and I was preparing a letter to send out to the lay members to annual conference about it, and it just, like with Easter in the middle, like it's like, do I send it right before? Do I send it right after? Like, I want people to pay attention and not miss it. So I figured I'd mention it here, and I guess we'll just send a letter to lay members to annual conference later this week, if not later today. But yes, it is live. We also have the pre-conference briefing registration that I think that's available there as well. Pre-conference briefing this year is on May 14th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's a long briefing because it also is the district conferences. So it's not just the annual conference pre-conference briefing, it's also district conferences. It's going to start out with brief worship, then it'll be about an hour to an hour and a half of the pre-conference briefing, and then you break out into groups by district and you'll have your district conference. So that's a Saturday, May 14th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you will need to register to join. Anyone can join, but it's really important for clergy and lay members to annual conference to attend the pre-conference briefing. Besides going over the agenda and answering questions about how it's going to function to be both online and in person, what types of devices will I need? Do I need to bring any devices if I'm going in person? Which you do. Especially if you're a voting member, you need to. If you're an observer, it's not as critical. So there's that, and then we'll have practice for voting. So it's whether you're joining online only or you're going to come to annual conference in person, it's a great time to practice with whatever device you're going to use for voting. If it's your cell phone, then be ready with that at the pre-conference briefing to test it all out. Go to the website and do all that business. It's not a long drawn out process. It's actually kind of fun, but if you're new to it, it can seem confusing until you actually try it out. You'll see it's a very basic portal with only 2 or 3 options of what you can do on it, and it's pretty responsive. Shows you right away if you actually voted or if your vote's still waiting to be processed. But anyway, so that's all something that you'll get to experience if you are participating in the pre-conference briefing. If you don't do that, then the only other time that a voting member will get to practice voting on their devices is during annual conference. So that would be a really difficult time to find out that your device isn't compatible, or to find out like, this is going too fast. I need them to slow down. We can slow down. The whole thing can slow down, but are you going to be brave enough to speak up and say, I need you to slow down? Or are you going to miss your chance to vote? Who knows? It depends on you. So it's much better to get that practice in there, get comfortable with it. And the really cool thing is when you're participating in the pre-conference briefing, if you find out as a voting member that this whole process is going way over my head, it's way too fast, I need more practice, that's when you are able to ask for additional one-on-one practice or a small group to practice. So it's not like you can't have any more practice. You can, but it has to be by request. In the past, we've scheduled multiple practice sessions and we've had less and less people show up, and it's a big production to put this together. There's paid staff that are, need to be scheduled, not our staff, but GNTV that are scheduled to help run these practices. And then when nobody shows up, it's kind of money down the drain. So we learned from that and discovered, okay, well, let's do the practice and pre-conference briefing. We'll do a practice at annual conference. And if anybody needs additional practice, it will be by request only. Okay. Questions? Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Did they come up with a venue for the ordination process?
Yeah, you mean the worship service?
Yes,
ordination service? Yeah, that is going to be at the First UMC in Mesa. We will have a service there, a memorial service, and then on Saturday night is the ordination service.
Thank you.
Yeah, and all of those will be live streamed. The annual conference will also be live streamed. Anything having to do with annual conference, you're going to find information by visiting dscumc.org/AC. If you need to provide instructions or information about where your church can watch annual conference online, send them to dscumc.org/AC. That's where we'll embed the live stream, both for the annual conference and for the worship services that'll be happening at First UMC in Mesa. All right, any other questions? Okay. Well, last thing, don't forget that your clergy needs to be able to access their at dscumc.net account that was provided by the conference, because that's going to have all the details about annual conference, about voting, and that's what they'll use as part of their voting to get their voting credentials. What else? And that's it. And then when people register, there is a separate registration for an observer that's just coming in person. But if you're an observer online, then all you do is just go to the website to watch it. You don't have to register. You just go to that website. So the layperson registration options, those are for the lay members to annual conference. What else? I think that's it. I guess if I have something else, I'll include it in the post meeting notes email. Yeah, I guess that's it. It's 10:32. Any questions for you guys? Something you want to share?
I had a question about resources for Native American Sunday. I think you might have sent a link out for that, but can you point me to that again?
Okay, I will include that in the follow-up email, Native American Sunday resources. Thank you for asking about that. Were you asking specifically about just like the printable cards that are available, or like everything, the mission notes, sermon starters, any videos that are available, social media stuff like that?
Yeah, I was looking more kind of for a video that I was thinking of playing during the service, or as kind of an introduction at some point to give an indication of what this is about.
Yeah, what it's about. Okay, I will get that in the follow-up. Thank you so much for asking for that, Mike. That's exactly what I'm saying. Sometimes there's so many resources available from the United Methodist Church that it can get very confusing, and from so many agencies too. So it's like, did I see that from GCOR? Was it from GCFA? Is it from, there's so many acronyms. So anytime, you guys ask for what you need, sure, do your own research if you want to, I'm not saying don't, but if it saves you a little bit of time, I'd love to be a resource to you and do that research for you. A lot of times I'm getting it for another church anyway, so I might have it at my fingertips. I don't this time, but I know what you're talking about, so I'm going to be able to get that to you, and then you'll all get it too. So often I find out that what's helpful for one church is actually very helpful for other churches, and some churches didn't know that it existed. So this really helps to raise awareness of the resources that are available and make everybody's life a little bit easier. So, okay. And yeah, so in those resources, it often does explain what the different special Sundays are. And at some point I know we have an explanation on our website about the special Sundays, so I'll include that in the follow-up email as well. All right, is there anything else? Any other questions? No. All right, then thank you everybody for joining me. for another Tuesday talk. And
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry,
go
Chris.
ahead.
I actually sent a message on the message, but since I'm a newbie, can you explain a little bit about what Heritage Sunday is and what Native American Sunday is?
So those are special Sundays. And I think we have 6 or 9 special Sundays. And they're Sundays where churches are encouraged to do a special offering to support that ministry area. You don't have to do it on that specific Sunday, but I think churches usually do it on that Sunday. It may be that, well, we're already doing this different sermon series, so we're going to do it the Sunday after that, or we're going to do it the Sunday before my sermon series. But typically it might be like Native American Ministry Sunday. I don't remember if that's in November or if it's May.
It's May 1st. It's in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's why I'm
quick.
Yeah.
And what it is, like I said, it's sharing about like the needs that are there, and maybe a little bit about how the United Methodist Church makes a difference in that ministry area, and how, it's the United Methodist Church provides resources for churches to use to both receive those funds and to provide some education about it. And what else? I don't know what else to say about them. But when I send you the leadership resources links, you'll see in there an explanation for each Sunday. And you won't see, well, I'll do a direct one to the Native American Sunday resources, and then I'll do another one where you can see all of the different Sundays.
You can also get things like this. This is the Native American if you can see that, Native American resource that you can have them mailed to you. I think it's free with some envelopes, and you'll get them for all the special Sundays. And the next one coming up after that is May 22nd, which is Heritage Sunday. So you can put those in your pews or pass them out, and people will be able to look at that information too.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, now, so 10:37, a little longer than usual, but I think we had a lot of good stuff. So thank you all for hanging in there with me. And